What's up guys, my name's Brandon and this is the new 2024 iPad mini, and in this video we're going to compare it to the previous generation iPad mini 6 from 2021 and answer the question of whether it's worth it to upgrade or if you should just hold on to your iPad mini 6 and save your money. So as you can see from the box, we have the exact same wallpaper as the iPad mini 6 and the box itself is pretty similar as well. The only differences I can tell on the box are that the text appears to be slightly smaller, and then on the back we do have a slight change here as well with just how everything is presented on the back. And of course we do have the pull tabs as well, whereas the iPad mini 6 had plastic all around it. And you can also see right here that Apple is calling this iPad mini the iPad mini A17 Pro. They're not calling it the iPad mini 7th generation, which is quite interesting. And you'll also notice that we have 128 gigabytes. That is the new base storage option. So for the same $500, you get double the storage. So no more 64 gig iPad mini. Thank goodness. And so it does also go up to 512 gigabytes now as well. Whereas last time with the 6, it only went up to 256 gigabytes. So let's go ahead and unbox this, pull these peel tabs off. And there is also a cellular option, and you can add $150 for cellular. And this year it's also eSIM only. So there's no SIM card slots if you do get the cellular model. And these boxes definitely do not open up as easily as the iPhones or some of the other iPads do. But you can see here is our iPad mini 7th generation, or A17 Pro. Inside we have the iPad mini. Of course, I did get this in the blue color. Also inside we do have our pamphlet. Let's see if we have any Apple stickers. No Apple stickers, just like with the iPhone. So it looks like Apple stickers are officially going extinct. But also inside the box we do have our USB-C plug right here, and also our USB-C cord. So that's nice that it includes both. This is a 20-watt block. Okay, so let's go ahead and take off the plastic on the iPad mini, and you can see that blue color. It looks kind of gray in certain lighting conditions. Like if you're under studio lights, it will definitely look a lot more gray. So what you're seeing right now, it probably looks very silver, gray with a very tiny blue undertone, just like what we saw before. So this is the blue color. This is new for the iPad mini. This actually replaced the pink color from the 6th generation iPad mini. So that's what it looks like. Let's go ahead and boot this up and let's compare it. So let's bring over the purple iPad mini 6. Okay, so let's start by talking about the design and the exterior changes here on the iPad minis. So you can see the first thing you'll notice is that we have iPad mini inscribed on the back now. So before the inscription only said iPad, now it says iPad mini. And then also if you look really closely at the bottom, you'll see a change in the inscription below where it says iPad mini as well. So up top it says assembled in China now, whereas before it was below, and it shows the model number and serial number in the same line beneath that. But as far as everything else on the iPad mini, it is the same as the iPad mini 6. So we have our volume buttons up in the top left if you're holding it in portrait mode. We have our Touch ID button right here, or our power button. You can see that we have our speaker grills up at the top as well. The speakers are the same as they were on the previous model. On the left hand side we don't have anything, and then over here on the right hand side you can see our connector for our Apple Pencil, and of course for our Smart Folio as well. Now if you take a look at the magnetic connector on the right hand side of the iPad mini 7th generation, the 2024 model, you can see that it is a little bit skinnier than what we had before on the iPad mini 6. And that's also because we now have support for the Apple Pencil Pro on the iPad mini 2024. So it supports the USB-C Apple Pencil and the Apple Pencil Pro. So you cannot use the Apple Pencil Pro on the iPad mini 6. You can only use the USB-C Apple Pencil and the Apple Pencil 2 on the older model. And with the Apple Pencil Pro, of course, you do get features like hover, barrel roll, and a lot of other great features for your iPad mini. Now on the bottom, we have the same speaker grills right here and what appears to be the same USB-C ports. However, there is a slight change in the USB-C ports, and that's because the new iPad mini, the 2024 version, has USB-C 3.1 Gen 2, whereas we had Generation 1 on the iPad mini 6. And what this gets you is 10 gigabit per second data transfer speeds versus 5 on the iPad mini 6. So if you transfer a lot of data using that USB-C port, you could see a nice benefit there. And if you look inside, you can actually see that that port is a little bit thicker than it was previously as well. Now, as far as the camera goes, we do have the same camera setup. However, we do have a slight change to the flash. So we now have a new True Tone flash on the new iPad mini versus the iPad mini 6. And you can actually see the difference if you look really closely at the flash right here. We also now have Smart HDR4 compared to Smart HDR3 on the iPad mini 6, and we have improved document scanning. So this is something big for the iPad, and you can see that I had a shadow when I was taking this photo of my iPhone box over here. The shadow shows up very prominently on the iPad mini 6 scan, but you can see that it's completely gone with the same exact scan with the same shadow on the iPad mini 7. So document scanning will definitely be better on this new mini. But again, aside from that, we have the same 12 megapixel wide angle camera with the f1.8 aperture and that 5x digital zoom. Okay, so as far as the display goes, we do have the same 8.3 inch liquid retina display with 500 nits of peak brightness on both iPads, but the iPad mini 7th generation, or the 2024 iPad mini, finally fixes jelly scrolling. Kind of. And I say kind of because it's not entirely fixed. It's just not going to be as noticeable now, at least not in portrait mode. Now, if you're not sure what you're looking at here and you're not sure what jelly scrolling is, basically it's just when one side of the screen doesn't refresh at exactly the same rate as the other side of the screen, and it creates a wobbly effect like jelly. And this is not just an Apple thing either. Like, this occurs on many LCD screens out there, and it's usually only noticeable in one orientation. So you might notice that it is improved on the Mini 7, but honestly for me, I never really noticed it at all on the Mini 6. Even when people started pointing it out, it took me months before I actually noticed it and when I slowed down the footage to see it. But for most people, I don't think jelly scrolling is an issue to begin with. But if you did have an issue with that, if you did not like that on the Mini 6, just know that it has been improved here on the Mini 7, but it might not be gone completely. Now, as far as performance goes, we do have a pretty big improvement in performance here with the new 2024 iPad mini. So we have a binned A17 Pro chip compared to the A15 Bionic chip in the iPad mini 6. So we have a 6-core CPU and a 5-core GPU. So the new mini is 30% faster with CPU tasks and 25% faster with GPU tasks. But the big benefit here is going to be with hardware accelerated ray tracing and mesh shading. So the Mini 6 did not have either one of those. So if you game on your iPad mini, you're going to see a massive difference in gaming performance and also especially with graphics. And the new iPad mini also has double the amount of RAM. So we now have 8 gigabytes of RAM versus 4 gigabytes on the iPad mini 6. And we do also have dynamic caching on the new iPad mini. And you can see I did run a Geekbench 6 CPU benchmark and we scored a significantly higher score on the multi-core especially, but also a pretty big jump there in terms of single core scores as well. Now, I did run this for the GPU as well. So if you go back to the GPU section of this benchmark, you can see what we scored here on each of these. So about a 5,000 difference here between the GPU metal score on the iPad mini 6 versus the new iPad mini A17 Pro. Now, because we have that 8 gigabytes of RAM, that means that we do have access to Apple Intelligence on the new iPad mini. And this might not seem like a big deal at first, like right now, because the iPad mini doesn't actually come with Apple Intelligence. It came with iOS 18.0.1. The first round of Apple Intelligence features go out with 18.1, but for the future, for the next 2-3 years, the fact that you're going to have Apple Intelligence support on this new iPad mini and not on the iPad mini 6 could be a pretty big deal depending on what you plan on doing on your iPad mini. So we do also have the same 16-core neural engine on both of these iPads, but with the new iPad mini 7, it's twice as fast, and that's because of that Apple Intelligence support. Now, I have to say, I have been playing PUBG Mobile for a while, and I did also run some Geekbench tests earlier, and I noticed that the iPad mini 7, the new A17 Pro iPad mini, does not seem to get as hot as the iPad mini 6. So the iPad mini 6 always got a little bit warm for me no matter what task I was doing, and it seems like that has been improved with the Mini 7. And I did also want to quickly mention that we do have an upgrade for the connectivity as well. So we do have Wi-Fi 6E now on the new iPad mini versus Wi-Fi 6. So that may or may not impact you based on your router, but something that will impact you is the fact that we now have Bluetooth 5.3 on the new iPad mini versus 5.0 on the Mini 6. And then as far as battery life goes, Apple does rate both of these for the same amount of battery life. However, I would not be surprised if we got better battery life on the new iPad mini just because of the more efficient A17 Pro chip. So it's rated for the same 10 hours of web browsing or watching videos on Wi-Fi. So I'll let you guys know in a later review if the battery life is any better than the previous iPad mini. And I did also want to mention that Final Cut Pro for iPad is available on the new iPad mini. You could not even download it on the iPad mini 6. So if you're into that and you want a really small screen for Final Cut Pro editing, you can do that. So now with all that being said, should you upgrade from the iPad mini 6 to this new 2024 iPad mini 7th generation? And I would say yes, but make sure to trade in your old iPad mini. So Apple gave me $230 for this iPad mini, and it's the base model 64 gigs. So it's really only a $300 upgrade for me and for you as well if you trade in your old iPad mini. And I think it's worth it for multiple reasons. I mean, you get double the storage. The storage alone is a big deal. I mean, if I go into my iPad storage right here, you can see I really only have one game installed and I'm already, almost at, 42, almost 43 gigabytes right there out of 64. That's going to be filled up in no time. So to get double the storage, that's a big benefit on this iPad mini. Also, you have much improved performance. You have better Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which may or may not make a big deal to you. Apple Intelligence, which again, that's subjective if you like that or not, but it is a big feature, especially going in for the next couple of years. We also have a fix for jelly scroll. So if you had an issue or if you even noticed jelly scrolling before, that has been fixed with the new iPad mini in portrait mode. And of course, the extended software support for at least a few additional years over the Mini 6. So if you want to plan on getting this iPad mini and keeping it for longer, you will have, more software updates in the future. It's going to last longer than the iPad mini 6. So for all those reasons, I think for $300, it's definitely worth it to go ahead and upgrade to the new iPad mini. But of course, if you're content with your iPad mini 6 and you don't need anything, you don't really use it very often and you don't really need anything, then just keep it. I mean, there's really no reason to upgrade if you're not somebody who uses it on a consistent basis and you won't really, benefit from the new features. But for me, this new iPad mini is most likely going to replace my iPad Pro for the bedside. And of course, I will have this on trips as well. So I'll talk more about where I'm actually using the iPad Pro in a future review video. But this is just the comparison and my thoughts on if you should upgrade to the Mini 7 or not. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you soon.